One of the most chilling things about Ariel Castro's House of Horrors was how ordinary it looked from the outside. For more than a decade, neighbors walked by this home, never imagining that 3 young women were being held inside against their will. Today in court, through firsthand testimony of investigators, we went inside that home, and we got a vivid picture of what its walls contained.
There were a number of modifications to the interior of the home to fortify certain areas. Those are a series of alarm clocks, and they're wired in a makeshift manner to create essentially an alarm system to the house. There was a contact switch at the back door that appeared that it would activate this alarm. That's a chain. It's in the room that Gina DeJesus and Michelle Knight shared. The pole is what the investigation has shown was used to restrain the women in the early stages of captivity. The investigation showed that on a limited number of times that some of the survivors were allowed outside, they were instructed to wear a wig.
3 women were held captive in that house for more than 10 years. Today, the world is a little closer to understanding the unimaginable suffering they endured. Joining me now are Eugene O'Donnell, professor of law and police study at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and Scott Taylor, investigative reporter with WOIO-TV in Cleveland, who got the first video from the backyard and garage when this story broke. Scott, let me go to you first. These are horrific details, but when someone first goes inside, it looks normal, right?
It sure does, Al. When you open up that door, and Ariel Castro knew what he was doing on that first floor, you would see toys, you would see a couch, you'd see a lazy boy. But then when you start to go into the dining room, which you can't really see from the front door, that's when things started to get weird. He really turned that into a bedroom. If you tried to go upstairs, well, you couldn't do it. There was a porch swing that he barricaded the upstairs with. Down at the bottom of that staircase, he had curtains. You walk up those stairs. That's when things got really spooky, because there were a couple of bedrooms. Amanda and Jocelyn, Amanda's little girl, stayed in one, the larger bedroom, right. And the window was actually barricaded, believe it or not, with a closet door.
Now, Eugene, here's some of what we know about life inside that house. The women ate 1 meal a day. They were given plastic toilets that were emptied infrequently. The windows on their rooms were nailed shut, and investigators found about 100 pounds of chains and padlocks. 100 pounds. I mean, this is really, really some weird and troubling items.
Yeah, the FBI behavioral folks must be all over this, because there's so many indicators of cruelty. It's new dimensions, really, in cruelty and apparently disabling the free will of these women. He worked on all these things, learned helplessness, just an elaborate set of devices, evil devices, to convince these women that they'd be harmed. And also, I think, importantly, it's not uncommon that people blame themselves. So he played very much on their self-blame. And that's why today is important. It's important believe it or not, it's important today in a courtroom for a judge to say, the victims are on this side and the bad guys on this side. You'd be surprised, many people would be surprised, how affirming that is to victims who say to themselves, none of this would have happened if I did A, B, C, or D.
Now, Scott, you and the station has been on this from the beginning. What stood out to you today once you saw what was in the house? What kind of really stood out to you and caught your attention?
Well, I think the elaborate tunnel system that he had through upstairs, Eugene mentioned 100 pounds. You mentioned 100 pounds of chain, right. About 99 feet, and he put little holes, like little mouse holes, where just that chain could go through. And we've never seen these chains before. There was some possibility of County Prosecutor Tim McGinty pulling those chains out today, but the judge quickly said, no, we're not going to do that. But they did, Al, show those photos, and that really stood out for me. Now, I also know that there were metal stakes in the top of the bedroom floors screwed in so they could actually chain Amanda or Gina or Michelle, and it could only reach over to the bed, couldn't reach to a door. And we also know there, as you mentioned, no bathroom on that upper floor, and upper floor, they used those plastic toilets, and they weren't able to empty them if they misbehaved. He also punished them up in the attic when it was really hot out during the summer, and punished them down in the basement too, Al, during the winter when it got really, really cold.
Now, when talking about punishment, Eugene, the prosecutor spoke about the daily torture that Ariel Castro inflicted on the captives. Listen to this.
Slapping them, punching them, stomping them on their stomachs. He dictated. He dictated when they ate, when they slept, when they could talk, when they could interact. He dictated when they could go to the bathroom. He bartered food. He gave them money and then he took it away. He made them clean to earn their keep. He provided no medical attention.
I mean, it just gets uglier and uglier, Eugene.
And he essentially taunted them in court and declared himself the victim.
Yeah.
He's the person who we should all feel sorry for. In that sense, it's not very different than some other criminal cases, but it's an extraordinary set of manipulations. And again, if there's any good part out of it, we've clearly established here today. He's not deserving of any mercy, and the victims are these ladies.
Scott, the one good thing we can come away with from the hearings today is the rescue. Let me show you what the first police officer to go inside the home talked about going upstairs with her partner and finding Michelle Knight. Listen to this.
He hollered out, "Cleveland Police" again, and then you hear some pitter-patter of steps, someone running, but stopped. And when we shined the flashlight, I remember I kind of shined the flashlight so whoever it was could see that we were the police. We later found out it was Michelle Knight as she literally launched herself into Officer Espada's arms. Legs, arms, just choking him, and she just kept repeating, "You saved us, you saved us."
I mean, a touching story of rescue, but an absolute portrait of a real mad situation.
It sure was, Al. And, that was Officer Barb Johnson. She went upstairs with Officer Anthony Espada, and then Barb brought them all down. Officer Johnson brought them all down. Amanda, Michelle, and Gina stayed with them for 5 hours from the house to the hospital, and she told me when she got home, Al, she sat down and the tears just started to pour out.
Wow. Eugene O'Donnell and Scott Taylor, thank you both for your time tonight. Just a remarkable story, and today justice finally prevailed for those three and that little girl. Ariel Castro sentenced to life plus more than 1,000 years.